Welcome to Baker Street, episode 22. I'm your host, Tom Pollard. It is great to have you here. Took last week off. I was busily preparing for a wedding of my nephew, Trevor, and his now bride, Thaley, Mr. and Mrs. Donahue. What an amazing wedding. I'm going to tell you a little bit about that in a minute. But cool that it's episode 22. I used to work for a TV station, an NBC affiliate in Springfield, Massachusetts, Channel 22, WWLP. And I loved working there. It was the 80s. We were young, kind of rowdy, and when I worked the weekend night shifts, we would hurry, get into our cars, and haul down Proven Mountain as fast as we possibly could to get last call at a bar in Agawam, Massachusetts, and hit it hard for about 15 minutes until they kicked us out. And that was our big event on Saturday night after covering fires or some parade or something like that, or a car accident. And ironically enough, awesomely enough, one of my friends is still there. Barry, how's it going, my man? I wanted to say hello to you and thank you for kind of firing back up a friendship that without social media was dormant for years. Barry also, interestingly, covered me during my 2014 Mount Everest expedition, at which time a huge avalanche took the lives of 16 people. Barry contacted me in base camp and performed a Skype interview with me, which went all over the airwaves on Channel 22.
What if one Sherpa died to help us achieve what really is ultimately a pretty selfish goal of climbing Mount Everest? It's not worth it.
I wanted to tell you, so I'm sitting outside here with my Marmot tent, and Marmot has given me a lot of their equipment over the years. I've done Mount Everest presentations for their staff in Rohnert Park, California, and they've given me some really cool equipment. And what I do in return for their kindness and sponsorship, I suppose, is I set this stuff up with my down suit and my climbing boots in front of the audiences to which I'm doing these presentations, along with prayer flags, which you can see some prayer flags hanging back. The music we're listening to is by Barents Whitfield and the Savages. And I found the music on the Free Music Archive, and it is a live performance. Sounds pretty obvious right there, at Monty Hall. This is part 3. They are covering here a song called Ramblin' Rose. It's an MC5 cover, and if anybody doesn't know who MC5 was, well, they don't really know much about rock and roll or the history of. MC5 was a great counterculture rock and roll band, and after looking up Barents Whitfield and the Savages, check out MC5 and look up Ramblin' Rose. You're going to see some good stuff and some great hairdos too. Yeah, very, very cool band, and I hope you'll check them out. I was telling you that I was at a wedding this weekend for Trevor and Thaley. I was the wedding officiant. Yes, I am an ordained minister, and I have done 2 weddings before. One was for my niece, Eliza, and her husband, Marco, and one was at Everest Base Camp in 2014, and that was really cool too. And so my nephew Trevor asked if I would be happy enough to do their wedding, which was last weekend up in Maine, and it was a beautiful wedding. I was blown away at how wonderful the facility was, and such an idyllic wedding. I loved it, and the honor was mine to be the officiant of it. And I'm going to share with you bits and pieces of that talk that I did, because the officiant gets to say his due before the vows are shared between the bride and the groom. And then after that, then the rings are exchanged, and you pronounce them man and wife, or husband and wife, or whatever they want to be called. And I started off by handing Trevor and Thaley each a rock, a small rock that I had taken from Everest Base Camp in 2019 on my recent Everest expedition to the north side. And I talked to them about these rocks coming from one of the most important mountains in the world, where a great energy center was located, and asked them to hold those rocks tightly in their hand. And I said, some would say that the world is your oyster. And cliche, right? But what does that mean, really? And it depends on what you want your role in life to be, and what part will you play. And it was at this time that I read a stanza, a very well-known one, at least part of it is, from Shakespeare's As You Like It, and he wrote this for his character Jacques. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man or woman in his or her time plays many parts. Anyway, what does that mean? As the all the world's a stage words come out, one can see that as kind of an ontological study, which is really a question about the structure of our lives. And I'm stealing that from my favorite philosopher, Jordan Peterson. But here we are, all players on this stage that we call life. And when we look at it that way, we realize we exert a significant element of control over the course that our life follows. I mean, it's true that people can suffer miserably through no fault of their own, but it's also true that in addition to seemingly random occurrences that happen to make one's life difficult, that they can, by their own actions, can contribute in a greater way to make their suffering deeper and further, not only for themselves, but their loved ones and the people around them. So, if all the world's a stage, then what part will you play? What is it that you are here to do? How will you put your mark on the future? Now, I'm 58 years old, so I've thought about that a lot over the years, and to be honest, I still feel like I have a long way to go to determine what my ultimate fate or legacy is, if I have one of any deep meaning. Yup, exactly. So I'm shooting this, and I can hear a chainsaw in the background. Perfect. That's why people shoot in studios. Well, you know what? I'm going for it. So one of the things I would suggest to you is not to be a marionette, not to allow life's happenings and comings and goings be the thing that determines where we go in life. And by taking control, by choosing our own role. And Trevor and Thaley, I called them lovers, they're givers, kind people. It was so easy for me to see that their future is certain to be filled with love and beautiful friends. It's just so obvious. I mean, these are good people. So when I started it, I said, the world is your oyster. And for all of us, we move forward into an uncertain future. I mean, no one can predict it. We have to contemplate first about, I guess, what our rights are as individuals on this planet, but more importantly, especially for young people, more equally for young people, what their responsibilities are. And that begins with something so simple yet so powerful and poignant as the vows that they were going to exchange that day on September 14th. So it's not your rights that give life meaning, it's your responsibilities and how you handle them that give life its meaning. So I was about to add this, but as I looked over at Thaley, I noticed she was getting a little chilly, and I scratched out this thing about fear and how fear has power over those who don't understand that we control our fate by eliminating fear, and that the reason fear has power is because people don't understand that the thoughts that we give strength to in our brain and our heart, that we give credence to, is what creates our reality. So if we walk around bitterly or angry, then we're a bitter, angry person, right? If we think, oh, I'm screwed, man, look at that guy doesn't want to hire me or to give me a raise or pay me this kind of money, bastard, you know, and so going around like life is being inflicted upon us. On the other hand, about embracing each opportunity as it comes our way, because things that happen in our lives, the bad things, are all opportunities for growth, because it creates a scenario in which we are listening intently. When something bad happens, oh boy, are we alert, right? So for me personally, I know this sounds maybe like I'm BSing you, but for me personally, some of the happiest times in my life have been when the chips are down, when things are really bad, because there's something really raw about it. Like I'm feeling each breath, each puff of wind that comes floating through, the sound of the leaves, and I'm excruciatingly aware of each detail of life when there is suffering at hand. And it's then that I'm able to make really crystal clear decisions. That's the part that I scratched out, and I jumped right to the idea of confronting the challenges that come our way by facing challenges not with malevolence or anger or judgment. Why me? Why me? Oh my God, my life is such a bane, and oh, I'm just if it weren't for bad luck, I would have no luck at all, kind of thing. You know, I mean, that's kind of going overboard, wouldn't you say, a little bit? But the understanding that within each challenge is the kernel of life that really makes us grow in wisdom. And the one thing I heard recently, sometime before the wedding, was that each time we rise to accept a challenge or to meet a challenge, however large or small, what happens is these neurons that have been laying dormant in our brain or our entire body they come to life, and they're stimulated. And then they start moving. Synapses start connecting in our brain. And suddenly, by accepting that challenge, we are literally growing in wisdom. And my brother-in-law, Jim, says that I was looking right into his eyes when I said this next thing. When I said, that's why a lot of old people are really cool. He's not that old. He's only in his 60s. But by rising to meet challenges without malevolence or without anger or without judgment or without self-pity, we grow. We actually expand beyond whatever levels we had been holding ourselves within previously. And so if you put all that together and you think about the idea of a future life together, a husband and wife, rising to meet each challenge together, just imagine the people that they could be, or we could be, by doing the same. Who would you be? Who would they be? And the answer would be everything that you could be. That's freaking amazing. I mean, seriously, think about it. When people, you know, you don't have to look much farther than Facebook or YouTube or Twitter. Oh, goddamn cancer, or goddamn this storm, or whatever. Yeah, I get it. It's not easy. Life sucks. We're all gonna die, man. But if we look at these banes of existence that greet us around every dark corner and think of it as an opportunity to go deeper into the soul of the human being that we are, just imagine the people that we can become. It's an amazing, amazing thing to ponder. And it also gives one a great opportunity to consider that challenges, that obstacles in our life are gifts. They've been given to us as opportunities to grow and increase our wisdom. So in that day, heaven hoping we make it to old age. But when that day comes that we're old and we're sitting in the front row of a wedding and the officiant says, that's why old people are so cool, we're like, yeah. There are a lot of bitter, angry people out there. I prefer not to surround myself with them. I really like those people who see their challenges and understand that those are the things that really create the people that we are and that make us special and unique. And for Trevor and Thaley, I have no doubt in my mind that they are going to go far. And man, let me tell you, a quality group of people at that wedding. Some good people hanging out there. And I had some people stop me afterwards and talk to me about a lot of ideas that I touched upon in there that wanted to be discussed further. I also drove home and I started thinking, I wonder if I should do more of this wedding officiating professionally. I don't know. There's no video of me, but I would like to look into that. I really enjoyed it. It's quite a challenge. Makes me nervous as all get out, but boy, I loved it. So the truth is, and this is why I started Baker Street, that we create our reality with the thoughts that we empower. And what that means is the thoughts and ideas and essences that we hold deeply in our heart as reality, whether they're anger, bitterness, or love, and kindness, or fear, or malevolence, or vengeance, or the desire to make the world a better place, it becomes our reality. So if we see an opportunity in a challenge or an obstacle, we will rise to meet them and not feel as though we were singled out. Why me? There are those people who say why me a lot, and I prefer to hang out with the people who look at those challenges as opportunities and ways to grow in wisdom. And that's what I think you should give a try to if you haven't already. We are listening to Barrence Whitfield and the Savages live at Monty Hall, Part 3. I found it on the Free Music Archive. I hope you'll look up Barrence Whitfield and the Savages. Super duper cool band. They are on YouTube, and you can Google them and find out more about them. I hope you will please go to my YouTube channel, Baker Street with Tom Pollard, and my podcast. Find it on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you can find podcasts. Click 5 stars and like it, subscribe to it, and if you're so inclined, leave a review, and I will truly appreciate it. And if you'd like to follow me or be on my mailing list, go to my website, eyesopenproductions.com, and there is a contact button. Click on contact, and all you have to do is just put your email in there, boom, send it along, say, I want to be added to your mailing list, voila, it's done. I am a public speaker. I do a lot of presentations on my Mount Everest expeditions and my adventures, and I want you to keep that in mind. If you need a speaker for your event, for your school, for your business, I'm your man. Give me a call. In the meantime, thanks for being here, and I will see you guys real soon.